George Orwell's 1984 isn't just some dusty old novel on a shelf. It's a political warning shot that he fired all the way back in 1949, and believe me, it still echoes loudly in our world today. So we're going to break down the terrifying society Orwell created, not as history, but as a lens to see the mechanics of power and control that are, frankly, more relevant now than ever before.
So let's just dive right into the heart of it with a huge question, one that really defined the great dystopian debate of the 20th century. What's the best way to control a society? Is it through what people fear, or is it through what they love? This very question puts two brilliant minds and two legendary novels head-to-head.
On one side, you've got George Orwell, and on the other, his former teacher, Aldous Huxley. Orwell's take in 1984 is that the ultimate control comes from pain, a society absolutely dominated by fear, surveillance, and punishment. But Huxley, in Brave New World, he imagined the complete opposite. He saw control through pleasure, where people are just so blissed out on entertainment, drugs, and fun that they never even think about rebelling. To really get what Orwell was warning us about, we have to understand his side of this argument.
All right, so let's start with Orwell's vision, the totalitarian superstate of Oceania. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some random fictional setting. No, it's a chillingly detailed blueprint for a government with absolute, total power. Orwell set the story in the near future for a reason, to make it clear this wasn't fantasy. This was a very real and very terrifying possibility.
So the society in Oceania is incredibly rigid. It's broken into three tiers. At the very top, you have the inner party. They're the tiny elite, the ones calling all the shots. Below them, you've got the outer party. This is the educated middle class, people like our main character, Winston Smith, who do the party's administrative work. And then at the bottom are the proles. They're the huge, uneducated majority. The party mostly just leaves them alone, figuring they're too disorganized to ever pose a real threat.
Now, here's where the party's real genius, or, its horror, kicks in. It's their ability to twist language into words mean absolutely nothing. This is perfectly captured by their four government ministries. You've got the Ministry of Peace, which, you guessed it, runs the endless war. The Ministry of Plenty, it manages constant food shortages. The Ministry of Truth, where Winston works, is all about churning out propaganda and rewriting history. And the most chilling one of all, the Ministry of Love, is the center for torture and brainwashing. In Oceania, reality is literally whatever the party says it is.
And watching over this whole operation is the godlike, all-powerful leader of the party, Big Brother. His face is everywhere, on posters, on coins, on telescreens, a constant reminder that you are always being watched. Whether he's even a real person doesn't matter. He is the ultimate symbol of the party's power, a face for people to both fear and adore.
So the big question is, how does the party actually maintain this kind of total, suffocating control? Well, Orwell lays out a toolkit that is just terrifyingly effective. First up, technology. In Oceania, technology isn't there to make your life better. Now, it's the ultimate tool of oppression. The telescreen is in every party member's home. It can never be turned off. It's constantly blasting state propaganda. But more importantly, it's also a camera and a microphone, watching and listening to every single thing you do. Every word, every sigh, even a subtle facial expression could give you away.
And all that constant surveillance leads to this absolutely terrifying concept of thought crime. See, in Oceania, you don't actually have to do anything wrong to be a criminal. Just thinking a rebellious thought is the worst crime you can commit. Your own mind isn't safe. Your nervous system can become your worst enemy, because one wrong look, one flicker of doubt in your eyes could get you arrested by the thought police and completely erased from existence.
But the party's most insidious weapon might just be its control over language itself. Newspeak is the official language, and its whole purpose is to shrink. Every year, its vocabulary gets smaller and smaller. The goal? To completely eliminate words that express concepts like freedom, individuality, or rebellion. And Orwell's point here is just profound. If you don't have a word for something, how can you even form the thought?
This all culminates in the party's central philosophy, captured in its three famous slogans. This is what they call doublethink. It's the mental power to hold two completely opposite ideas in your head at the exact same time, and to believe both of them are true. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. It's a kind of psychological gymnastics that lets the party bend reality to its will.
So you combine that constant surveillance, that psychological conditioning, the rewriting of history, and of course, brutal torture. And what do you get? You get a system that can completely break a person's mind. A system that can make anyone believe anything, even something as insane as 2 + 2 = 5. It's not just about telling lies, it's about destroying the very idea of objective truth.
So what does this totalitarian system actually do to people? It creates what philosophers call alienation. And that's just a fancy word for a state where the things humans create, like society, language, technology, turn around and are used to dominate them. In Oceania, basically everything has been weaponized against its own people.
This control creates this deep, four-layered alienation. First, people are alienated from the products of their own society because technology and language are used as weapons against them. That, in turn, alienates them from their own selves, stripping them of any real freedom or critical thought. This then alienates them from their own humanity, reducing life to just a struggle to survive. And finally, and maybe most tragically, it alienates them from each other.
I mean, the party systematically destroys the most fundamental human bonds. Kids are literally trained in organizations to spy on their own parents and report them for disloyalty. Love, romance, marriage, all of that is stripped of any emotion. It's reduced to a cold, simple duty to the party: create more children. The only loyalty that's allowed is absolute, unquestioning loyalty to Big Brother.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. All of this sounds like a dark, far-fetched fictional nightmare. But here's the thing. Orwell wrote this as a warning about the real-world dangers of totalitarianism, and his warnings have never, ever been more potent than they are right now.
The parallels are just impossible to ignore. Orwell's telescreen, doesn't that feel eerily similar to the mass surveillance we see today from governments and corporations? The Ministry of Truth constantly rewriting history? It's a chilling preview of our modern anxieties about AI-powered misinformation and deep fakes. The whole idea of newspeak, controlling thought by controlling words, is right at the heart of today's fierce debates over free speech. And the party's use of endless war to maintain control? Well, we still see that tactic whenever a crisis is used to expand state power.
And that brings us all the way back to that great debate. Orwell warned us that we'd be crushed by an external force, by the things we hate. But his old teacher, Huxley, he feared something different. He thought we'd be seduced into giving up our freedoms, controlled by our own desires, by the trivial pleasures that we love. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. As you look at the world today, which vision of control feels more real? Which world feels a little closer to home?